Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you joining me in today, we welcome you in. Water. Sorry, I don't own an aquarium or anything, so this is just going to have to do. It's something we all need. And it's something in the past 30 years that has gone from being available in every single park off a drinking fountain of questionable cleanliness to now being available in a bottle. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, those old drinking fountains didn't have their problem. They were. I remember a number of times you would press the button to get a little bit of water and the water would barely crest over the surface of that tiny little thing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. They talk about herpes being involved all over the world. I wouldn't be surprised if the drinking fountains weren't a vector of some description, because a lot of you are the same age as me, roughly, give or take 10 years. We remember those drinking fountains where you practically have to put your lips down and suck the water out of the tap. And that was just in the schools. The public parks and everything, there were drinking fountains all over the place, and who knows who was using them and what was using them. But in the 80s and 90s and onward, a couple companies got interested in making bottled water. You might know them as Coke and Pepsi, or by their more familiar names, Dasani and Aquafina. Oh yes, they own those. Lock, stock, and barrel. Dasani, oh my goodness. Try to go to an event anywhere in the world. Your local, wing fest, your local, whatever it might be, a local concert, whatever it is, almost guaranteed they're going to have Dasani behind the table. If it's an independent production, you might get the Nestle Costco water. But other than that, you're pretty much, wherever you go, you're going to wind up with Dasani or Aquafina. Manufactured under the aegis of either Coke or Pepsi, respectively. Now, Coke and Pepsi do some pretty neat tricks. And while Nestle does actually have a bottling plant in Aberfoyle, Ontario, where they get a lot of their water, ever been there? It's disgusting. It's surrounded by these ponds of sludge and crap that are just so brown. Like if you put it in a filter, you would not be able to make clean water out of it. They're just horrible. And that's where their Dasani is coming from. Sorry, that's where their Nestle purified water is coming from. Coca-Cola, Dasani, and Aquafina through Pepsi are pretty much tap water. That's right. There have been a dozen exposés. There have been countless documentaries, and all they are is simply Pepsi and Coke taking your water, putting it in a bottle, and charging you money. Maybe they might run it through a filter in some places, just so that way they can slap a label on the side, filtered for your quality, with little tiny details over here. But that's why I noticed years ago that on bottled water, it was always listing chlorine content and, oh my goodness, why can't I think of it at the moment? But iodine and all these other things that get added in. Fluoride, that's what I was trying to think of. Fluoride content. I was thinking most natural springs do not have fluoride in them. And that's right. Because they're using tap water. Simple tap water. So what I have in front of you is actually filtered tap water. So I'm getting what the big companies are selling $1 or $2 for a bottle for you, twice as much for dramatically less. Now, admittedly, you go to a concert, you go to an event, you're probably not going to pack up water and carry it with you. Water is big and heavy. And the vendors there depend on you buying a Coke, a Pepsi, a water, whatever it is, to help their profit margins. That's the way things work. They buy it for 50 cents, they sell it to you for $1. And drinks are big business. But water, plain, simple tap water. That's how they That's how they get you. Yes, there are legitimately pure water places and places that specialize in purifying your water and distilling it back to its crystal clear perfection. But most places don't care. Brita, yes, their filter does a good job at getting rid of particulate matter. But I sometimes like to do experiments with my Brita. When the filter is ready to be changed and stuff like that, I'll use that old filter, and rather than just throw it out, I run some science experiments on it. I put some iced tea in it, powdered iced tea. And you know what? Didn't filter a darn thing. Coffee. Might as well try some instant coffee. Didn't touch a darn thing. So really, how much is it really taking out? Yes, it's going to get rid of some bugs and stuff, but I mean, if you're up against a bacteria or a virus, it's probably going to go straight through that filter, no questions asked. So Dasani and Aquafina are actually kind of doing us a favor in letting the chemicals stay in. It's not right, but unfortunately there's some horrible, horrible things that you can get by drinking water. I mean, those people who go on survival vacations encounter it all the time. You take a drink from the wrong spring and bad things happen. There's even that bacteria in the United States that shows up every 10, 20 years where it will eat through to your brain and eat your brain. This is a real thing. I don't remember the actual name of it, but it's a real bacteria. So yeah, I don't really mind that being killed off and taken out of my water. But what my problem is, when Coke and Pepsi are involved, they're not competing with each other, not directly at least. Coca-Cola tends to stay in the drinks category, whereas Pepsi has branched out into yum foods and all sorts of things. And yum foods is like Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, and stuff like that. Tim Hortons too, if you're Canadian, they're stuck in there in some weird loop. I was looking at that the other day, but it was too weird to describe. But because Coke and Pepsi have the marketing power that they do, if you go to a concert, an event, whatever it is, chances are Coke or Pepsi have already laid their claim to the place. Pepsi through their Yum Foods brand, and Coke just simply because they are Coke. I don't even know why the two of them advertise anymore. I mean, nobody's switching from Coke to Pepsi or Pepsi to Coke. If you're pretty much born a Coke or a Pepsi person at this point. Or you don't care. Maybe you're one of the RC Cola people that, God bless you, I got no problem with RC Cola. But there are other brands. But ultimately, one of the big two has you by the short and curlies. Coke and Pepsi. Or Dasani and Aquafina. Because most people will buy water. Now, it's patently hilarious that in the past 20, 30 years, we've come to accept this as normal. Either you bring from home, like this here, or you're going to be spending $5 at the park because most of those concerts and events get pretty hot and pretty warm, and you're shouting to each other because there's 10,000 people in attendance, and that's all a good thing for the economy. It just takes money away from people like you and I and feeds it into the megacorporations. And it's just a subtle way that they do it. By presenting you the illusion of choice, Dasani being the only choice you have, or maybe one or two people have Aquafina, it's an illusion of choice. You're still giving your money to Coke or Pepsi, even though you think you're not. And yeah, what a marketing coup by those two organizations. And in turn, they've sponsored a whole lot of other revolutions, like people having filters in their homes. That would have never happened if bottled water hadn't been a thing. And I'm old enough to remember the bottled water craze first coming in. Evian water, which of course spelled backward is naive. I know that's not the real, it's a French name. It doesn't have anything to do with that, but I always found that funny. This is how much corporations control your lives. from the water that you drink, and you need water. Between 70 and 80% of your body is water, depending on who you are, who the scientist is you talk to, etc. So it's something you need to keep you alive. The minerals inside water are very important. You need them. There's things like calcium in there. There's all sorts of little particulate matter that does good things for your bodies. Now, that doesn't include fluoride. That doesn't include chlorine. That doesn't include, well, iodine depending. Iodine can be a very good thing depending it's the right kind of iodine. But this, I guarantee, has virtually none of that in there. And if it does, it's probably on a little bit of slime at the bottom of it. Remember what you're doing. Almost every dollar you give winds up in one of the megacorporations' pockets and in one of these financial black holes that never gets down to anybody else. Your local vendor, your local hot dog stand, your local restaurant is not doing it on purpose. So don't take it out on those guys. They're just meeting the demand in the only way they know how. I don't know how expensive it would be to set up a portable filtration package, but it wouldn't be cheap, and most restaurants are getting by on virtually nothing. Hot dog stands tend to get a little better on their overhead, but I mean, there's only so much you can sell of a stand. There's permitting, there's all sorts of things, and ultimately, it's luck of the draw. If you get a good spot on a good day, you're going to sell a lot. If you're not so lucky, you lose your hot dog stand. But water, it's so essential to our life. We've been indoctrinated that you have to drink 7 to 10 glasses a day, which is good, don't get me wrong. But for something that's available out of the faucet in almost every single home in North America, there are exceptions. There are some places like Flint, Michigan, and First Nations Reserve where water is very difficult to come by. But for most people in the first world, it's as easy as turning on the faucet. And it's time we start realizing the easiest way to fight back the big corporations is to tell them, no, we're not going to buy your $1, $2 water anymore. We're going to start drinking water sensibly. Bottles for water are not that expensive to pick up. They're annoying to remember, they're annoying to take, and it's annoying to walk around a festival with a big giant thing on your back carrying bottles of water. Yes, I get it. And you know what? If you're prosperous enough to wander around and buy water, by all means. But I think you should remember, and we should all remember, water is water. Aside from a few minor things, like we would prefer it to not have fluoride, essentially you're going to get the same whether it's from a lake-drawn stream or whether it's out of the city water mains. So don't pay Dasani, don't pay Aquafina, don't pay Evian, and don't pay Nestle. Because you're literally stealing money from yourselves and sending it off to send some big corporate executive on a vacation to the Azores where he's taking his girlfriend and leaving his wife at home with the kids, etc., etc. You know the drill. It's nothing unusual. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And we hope you have a fantastic day.